Good morning, Amos. Morning, Deb. Hi, Christy. Good morning, Ken. How are you guys today? All I've heard is birds chirping since 6 a.m., which is nice, but I don't know. Not always nice when it wakes you up. Good. I'm glad you're good. Haven't looked at the weather to see what kind of day it's going to be like. I'd like to take a walk. As long as it's not raining, I guess that's not written off. I've also been trying to think about projects I can do. Anybody doing any projects this weekend or did any this week? I know we cleaned out our closets, much to Tyler's dismay. No, he was a great sport about it. Morning, Jean. But it was just bugging me because we have a hallway closet that we actually use all the time. Hi, Sarah. And then we have this closet that's behind me that we never really use. And so stuff that we needed was in this closet and stuff we didn't need was in the other closet. So, wow, Christy, spreading wood chips. That's quite a job. I can't say I've ever done it, but it looks like really tough work. Good morning, Emily. For those of you that are just joining, I was asking if anybody's done any projects during the week or if they have any planned for this weekend. Hi, Allison. Ooh, coffee and sizzly at Wawa. That sounds yummy. I didn't understand the whole Wawa thing before we moved here, but I get it now. For like what it is, it's really good. Not even just for what it is. It's good. Making masks today. Yes, I love to see everybody making masks. As somebody that works in a hospital, I know all the ins and outs of how precious that PPE is. So, woo, making masks. Good morning, Tracy. Give everyone another minute or two. Good morning, good morning. Hi, Rusty. I know. So, closets were like 2 weekends ago project, so I don't really know what we're going to do today. Deb, cleaning out our kitchen cupboards. That's what I was just going to say. I think we need to organize our, cabinets because it's like a bomb went off in there. I already went through and got rid of old stuff, but, Good morning, Sarah. Hi, Kate. Let's see. Okay. Alrighty. So, give another minute or so, then I'll get started. May or may not just be prolonging getting started. It's very nerve-wracking. I've never been live for anything, let alone to talk about something. So, yeah. But, all right. Well, why don't I get started? So, anybody that doesn't know, I'm Courtney. I'm one of the directors at the church. I'm the administrative director. So it really just means I do a whole lot of everything. Well, I should say a little bit of everything. Whole lot of random stuff. A lot of stuff with kids, but other stuff too. So I was thinking about what I was going to talk about today. And I was praying and God kept saying you know what to talk about. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to talk about this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just kind of who I am and what I have seen God doing in my life for the last year and a half or so. And how I've been reading my Bible lately and how God has just kind of meshed the two together. So I'm somebody who considers himself to be an anxious person. Most of my close friends know this. I've shared it pretty publicly. It's not something that I shy away from talking about. Like, I experience anxiety, I experience and have experienced panic attacks. Diving into the Enneagram, I learned I was number 6, which is like the loyalist, and basically they're known for being the one that plans for the worst case scenario. So that's kind of who I've always been. And when we moved here, I was super anxious because there was just a lot of unknowns still. Like, Tyler had a job, but I was trying to figure out a teaching job. And I realized in that time that anxiety is when I feel out of control, I want to regain control, and like obsessing about it and thinking about it, and trying to do things to regain that control, manifest in some of those physical anxiety ways. So, what I realized though is that, I really didn't have as much control as I thought I did. So our first year here kind of looked like me realizing, morning, Linda. Our first year looked like me realizing, okay, I had all these great plans, and I thought, God's speaking to me, and he was, but plans don't always work out the way that you, plan for them to, or the way that you believe that they're going to. And so I ended up deciding that I didn't really want to teach, and I had to rework what security looks like, financial security in who I was as a person. And so at the end of that year, the start of this year, I saw, wow, I have really come to trust God in terms of my job and like what I'm going to do for the rest of my life type of thing. But it kind of stopped there. As soon as I would start to think about like, relinquishing that control to God when it came to, my health, having kids in the future, Tyler's health, my parents' health, our very living being, I was like, yeah, no, but I still need to hang on to this really tight. And the tighter I hang on, the more anxiety I feel because I really have zero control. And so working through all of this, I realized that while I had come a long way in my journey of trusting God and relinquishing control to him, I still had a long way to go. So some of you know, at the beginning of this year, I had a mole removed. You can probably see the scar, bad choice of sweatshirt, but I had a mole removed, thought like, no big deal, I'm gonna have this removed, move on with my life, get back to the gym once it heals up. And then they told me it was melanoma. And as a 25-year-old, hearing you have any sort of cancer is like, what? No, that's not true. That's not real. Especially something like that. I felt like that is something that older people get because they've been on the earth longer and they've been exposed to the sun more. But that wasn't the case. And so, of course, I immediately was terrified, scared, so many unknowns. And it wasn't like some switch flipped. And I was just immediately able to say, well, God, whatever happens. It was this process, my whole life really, battling anxiety, but especially in this last year and a half since we've lived here, really relinquishing that control. So everything came out great with the melanoma. I'm in the clear, have precautions to take. But what I'm taking away from this whole experience is I realized that all the things that I used to rationalize that would help me like regain control of, well, I'm young, I'm relatively healthy, I do most of the right things to stay that way, they didn't matter. And all these ways that I tried to give myself the illusion of like I have control over everything in my life were actually giving me so much anxiety because you put so much pressure on yourself to maintain that control that you start to lose it and you start to really feel differently. So I have been thinking like back to all these people that would say, and I would be irritated with, like, just live and let go and let God, or just surrender it to God. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Surrender it to God. And it's not that easy. It's not just something that I prayed one time and said, God, I give this to you, take it. But what it does look like is every single day, maybe multiple times a day, saying, God, I give this to you, take it. Continually praying, continually trying to hand it over, to take those closed fists and open it up so that God can bear some of the weight of that. It looked a little bit like faking it till I made it, telling myself, I'm giving this up to God. I've given this up. It's no longer mine to hold. Whatever it is, whatever that anxiety, that fear is in your life, saying, it's gone, and I've given it up. And, that's not living in denial. That's kind of just like speaking it over your life, in my opinion. And it looks a little bit like living in that tension. Abigail spoke yesterday, and she was telling this story about Sophia and how she was, on the one hand, really sad and disappointed that she couldn't do what she was going to do for her birthday and see her friends. But on the other hand, she was really grateful and loved the birthday that she did get to have. And I thought that was a perfect example. And that is the way that I've been living my life. And so I realized being surrendered to God can mean living in that tension, can mean, on the one hand, being terrified, being scared, wanting to control things, wanting to know what the future holds. It can look like, wanting so much to care for the people in your lives, but not fully knowing how to do it. And also feeling peace, feeling calm, feeling that grace that only God gives, and working every single day to give it up to Him. And so that tension, I think, is a vital part of relinquishing control and living surrendered to God. And it doesn't come in a day, and it didn't even come in this year for me, and I still have work to do. I haven't arrived, but battling anxiety is something I've done for the better part of my life. So when I started to connect it to, these things that are happening now, not just what happened to me earlier this year with the melanoma, but when it comes to COVID-19, I started to wonder, okay, when am I going to have that wave of fear, that need to control this situation? When is it going to come? And it is only by God's grace that it hasn't come yet. I haven't been fearful. I've been informed. I do work in a hospital. I'm in patient access. So that just means I register people and get them ready for their appointments and schedule them. But I come in contact with 150 plus people a day, and there's part of me that thinks that is scary, but then there's also this part that has really given that up to God. Whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen because He's in control and I'm not. So all that to say, how does it relate to Jesus? I said at the beginning that He's kind of meshed what I've been learning in my life with what I've been reading in my Bible. So I've been doing a Bible in the Year plan, and I think it's pronounced M'Cheyne, but basically you read a bunch of different books at the same time. And so I'm on day 85, I think. So I've read through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and I'm almost through John. So I've been reading a lot about Jesus's life, and I realized that Jesus had to be living in this tension. He is the Son of God. He is wholly surrendered and relinquished control to God, and He's living His life sold out for God, and for God's purpose. And He had to have so many joyous things. I think about His childhood. Maybe He had farm animals or a pet. He ran around, played with friends, and as He grew, He had to settle into the plan that God had for Him. And there was joy, there was love, His love for His disciples, His love for His family, and all these beautiful, great things. But there also had to be this tension of He knew what was coming. So I thought about it. Would I feel any better if I knew what was coming? I mean, I know eventually I will die, but that really wasn't making me calm. But knowing that God knows, and that I actually don't have to think about it and don't have to take up mental space, I was like, man, I wonder if that's what Jesus did. And I continued reading, and part of me got cynical. So I'm a big Harry Potter nerd. And spoiler alert, if you haven't read all the Harry Potters, plug your ears for a second or watched all the movies. But, at one point, it becomes apparent that to get rid of the bad guy Voldemort, Harry Potter is going to have to die. And Snape, who has kind of like hated Harry this whole time, says to Dumbledore, who's seemingly loved Harry this whole time, so you mean we kept him safe and raised him up so that he could die just at the right time? And this, like, part of me was kind of like, taking that idea and being like, so Jesus had to live his whole life only to die at the right time? I don't understand. Like, I can't imagine living that way. But Jesus was so in love with God, his Father, that he was willing to make that sacrifice. And God loves us so much that he's willing to make that sacrifice. So I was thinking, I want to commit to live like Jesus, not just in the way that I love people, not just in the way that I, respond to things that happen, but I want to live so in love with God that I trust him enough to give up control, that I trust him to, set a course for my life and to be on it. And that doesn't mean that I won't be anxious or afraid at times, but it does mean that I can start to give myself a break from trying to control everything. Proverbs 3, I forgot to bring my Bible in here, but basically says, trust in the Lord your God, lean not on your own understanding, follow him and he will set a path for you. And I read that and thought, we probably pluck this verse out all the time. Trust God, lean not on your own understanding, follow him, he'll make a way for you. And, but I really felt it this time. I read that and thought, wow, I really can trust God, not lean on myself, because I'm powerless. If anything in my life, events leading up to COVID and COVID right now, I'm powerless. So I can continue to feel anxious and worry and put aside all my time. And I'll probably still have times and days where I do that. Or I can work every day to relinquish control to God. I can work every day saying, all right, God, I'm giving this to you. I'm giving my fear to you. I give my life to you, Tyler's life, my parents' life, my friends. And continuing to do that, I still don't want to die. I still don't want to miss out on things here, but I no longer feel the weight and the burden of, if I don't do these certain things, then I'm going to lose it and I'm not going to have the things that I want, or however I rationalized it. So all that to say, it's a process. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that anxiety isn't real. It is. If anyone knows, I do. And it's not a simple, if you just trust God, live and let God, and it'll be okay. But when you take steps that you can control, to turn off news, to reach out to a friend, to name the things that you're feeling, and to continue to talk to God day in and day out, and give all your worries to him, and live a life knowing that whatever he's got down the line for you is better than anything that you could control yourself, you start to feel lighter. And each day it gets a little easier. And so you still have those days where you live in the tension, the good and the bad, but it gets a little bit better. So I'm going to pray to close us out. And I'm going to end it there. So Father God, I just thank you. I thank you that you are God who loves us so much, that you made the ultimate sacrifice for us. I thank you for the grace that you bestow on all of us, that you know that we will worry, that you know that we will stray, you know it all, God, and you love us in spite of it. So my prayer for us is that in this next hour, this next day, the end of the weekend, that we would just continue to take steps to hand over control to you. that we would unburden ourselves of the need to hold so tightly to everything in this world, not because we don't cherish it, but because you're already holding it. And that we can enjoy our lives so much more when we're not holding so tight to that control and allowing that anxiety to rule in our lives. So God, would your peace come? Would your love flow in our homes? Would we experience joy in a way that we haven't? In your name, amen. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. Everybody that said they had a project, good luck. I'm going to try and find something to be productive. But great talking to you all. God bless.